Okay, picture this. You're a perfectly happy bear. You head to your pantry for that amazing jar of chocolate spread you've been thinking about all day. And it's gone, just vanished. The only other creatures in the cabin are these little lemmings, all squeaking and looking completely innocent. You know one of them did it, but you've got zero proof. Well, that exact feeling of frustration, that's why we need a record, a ledger of what really happened. So let's just dive right in. The number one question for our bear, Grizzy, is pretty much the same question every single database architect has to ask at some point. Who changed my data? I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a stolen jar of chocolate spread or a critical financial record being updated. Knowing the who, the what, and the when is, well, it's everything. And the whole process of getting those answers, that's what we call auditing. All right, so to crack this case, we need a solid plan. First up, we're going to look at what the database's silent record, the audit trail itself, actually is. Then we'll get into why we even bother keeping this ledger in the first place. After that, we'll figure out what's actually important enough to write down, check out the tools we can use, and finally, see how this simple log can become one of your most valuable assets. You know, any system that's run well, whether we're talking about a log cabin or a huge complex database, it needs one master record, a single source of truth that shows everything that went down, no questions asked. And that is our audit trail. Now listen up, because the most important word here is unchangeable. An audit trail isn't just some casual log file. Nope. It's a permanent time-stamped record of who did what and when. It has to be completely tamper-proof. I mean, think about it. If our sneaky little lemmings could just go in and erase their chocolatey fingerprints, the entire record would be worthless, right? That's why the integrity of this log is absolutely everything. So, you might be thinking, why go through all this trouble? Is it really just about catching a few mischievous lemmings in the act? Well, yes, that's part of it, but it's also about so much more. Keeping a detailed ledger like this serves some incredibly important purposes. Here's the thing, auditing is like a Swiss Army knife. For security, it's your alarm system. It catches someone trying to sneak into the pantry who shouldn't be there. For compliance, it's your proof that you're following the rules of the house, things like GDPR or SOX. For debugging, it's a lifesaver, helping you trace back the exact moment something went wrong. For forensics, it's how you piece together what happened with a chocolate spread after the fact. And it can even give you business intelligence, showing you patterns in how the pantry is being used. Okay, great. We're on board. We're going to keep a log. But now we hit the million-dollar question. What do we actually write down? And trust me, this is a very delicate balancing act. You need enough information to be useful, but not so much that you're just drowning in noise. And you've really got two extremes to choose from here. On one side, you could log everything. I mean, every single tiny move a lemming makes. Sure, you'd have complete visibility, but the performance cost would be huge, and you'd have a literal mountain of data to sift through. On the other side, you could log selectively. This is way better for performance, but you run the risk of creating blind spots. What if you miss the one key event? The real art is finding that perfect sweet spot right in the middle. So, what does that sweet spot look like? Well, you focus on the stuff that really matters. Think of it this way. You absolutely want to log every time someone tries to open the fridge, especially if they fail. You definitely want to know if someone changes the lock on the pantry. That's a big deal, a change to permissions. And of course, you 100% need a record anytime someone takes something out or puts something in. That's your data modification, your inserts, your updates, and your deletes. All right, we know the why and the what. Now for the really fun part, the how. How do we actually pull this off in a Postgres database? Well, lucky for us, we have some fantastic tools we can use. We've basically got 3 levels of tools here, each with its own pros and cons. First, you have standard logging, just using PostgreSQL's built-in features. It's like keeping a simple notebook. It works, but man, it can get really noisy and be a pain to read through. Second, you can install a specialized extension like PG Audit. Now this is like putting in a professional, pre-built security camera system. It's powerful, it's selective, and it was born for this job. And finally, for those really specific needs, you can write your own custom triggers. This is the equivalent of building your own custom laser tripwire system, perfectly designed to protect your most important assets. Now, for most serious, real-world situations, the go-to answer, the community standard, is PG Audit. Just like the official docs say, it gives you that detailed, selective auditing we've been talking about. It's really the professional's choice because it just hits that perfect balance of power and performance, and it plugs right into the logging system you already have. Okay, now this is where things get really cool. Your audit log, It isn't just some dusty old record book for pointing fingers. When you actually start to analyze it, it transforms from a simple log into a genuine treasure map. And that right there is the real power of all this. By analyzing the patterns in the log, by seeing when the lemmings usually go for the pantry, which routes they take, Grizzy can do way more than just solve a crime that already happened. He can actually start to predict future attempts. He can beef up security at just the right times and in just the right places. The history, the log, it becomes a strategic asset that actually helps you shape the future. So at the end of the day, that's the big takeaway here. An audit trail is so much more than a tool for compliance or forensics. It's the hidden story of your entire system. It tells you how people are really using your data, where your security is being tested, and what your users actually care about. So as you go back and look at your own systems, the question isn't just who changed my data, but what story is your data just waiting to tell?